Regana Tosh is known to be associated with the Markalian smuggling operation. Kira thinks Quark has a lot in common with a Raconian swamp rat. And Sisko tells Worf to stay in his lane. And then he makes a pendulum. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name's Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 4, Hippocratic Oath, directed by René Auberjonois. Very cool.
Okay.
Written by Lisa Klink and story by Nicholas Correa and Lisa Klink. How are you today, Cirroc?
I'm doing well.
Pretty cool that Odo directed this. I only saw that afterwards, so I didn't really watch for it. But it was cool that he's like, ooh, Odo gets the last laugh. I want to direct this one.
Yeah, this was a good episode. We get a little bit of the jem'hadar now. We're starting to get into the meat of the Dominion and how they function, and this drug, this Ketracel White, which is that white girl, that white powder, or that white stuff that they like.
You got the white stuff.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that René directed this episode.
So this was I don't know. This was the first time. I mean, like, I got to be honest with you, Cirroc. When I watched this episode and we saw Worf fussing around and getting rejected by Sisko and getting rejected by Odo, my first thought was, same old sorry Worf. Like what Shaquille O'Neal said about the Warriors when the Warriors were trying to get better, and the interviewers were like, what do you think about the Warriors? And Lakers had just whipped them, and he's like, SOSW, same old sorry Warriors. Well, this time it's SOSW, because in Next Generation there's like a huge compilation of the times that Worf recommends something and he gets shot down. He's always like, Captain, recommend we no, Worf. Or he says, Captain, we must fire. Worf, I'm warning you, damn it. Or, Worf, quiet. But Captain, we should know. So this was just the same old thing on Deep Space Nine. He's like, I do not think that, and then nobody wants to hear it. Anyway, this was your first taste of it.
Yeah, he was. He had his microscope up Odo's rear end in this episode, and Odo was like, "Dude, what's your problem, man? You just got here, and you're over here barking orders at me, and reporting me to the boss every 5 minutes." Captain, Odo is late for work. I just thought that was.
I noticed he was 3.5 minutes late, Captain. I did not want to pry, but.
Yeah. I thought that Worf was trying to. He's doing a bad job at trying to make friends on DS9 at this point. But he's also, a real by the books guy, and he's also concerned about the safety of Quark's, and I mean of the station itself. But I thought it was interesting when Sisko says basically towards the end, he's like, "Look, Quark has his own set of rules, okay? So just learn to live with him, and we've got our eye on him. We're watching what he does, but we let him get away with certain things because he helps facilitate, the functioning of this station." So they kind of have a little separate set of rules for Quark, which is what we've always known, but now Worf is learning for himself too, right?
Right. It was also, Sisko definitely did tell him to stay in his lane. He's like, look, Odo is the chief of security. You are strategic operations. Need I spell it out for you? He should have been like, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but a couple of our most important officers are stuck in the Gamma Quadrant. Would you consider that to be a strategic operation for you to maybe go, I don't know, find out what's going on? I don't know. Maybe you should remove yourself from Odo's gooey rear end and go, do your job right quick.
Yeah, that would be a nice suggestion. But this episode is, they call it the Hippocratic Oath, and that's because doctors are sworn to take this oath, which is to supersede any decision making that they do, right? So this is the first rule, is
Right.
basically to save life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that Dr. Bashir is conflicted with that oath in this episode, because he has to choose whether to save the lives of essentially the mortal enemies of the Federation at this point. And I thought that's a good concept for them to explore.
For sure.
So I do like that they pick these kinds of themes, and that's, to me, another thing that separates DS9 from all the other shows that we've been watching so far, is that they pick these kinds of themes that are rooted in these principles that we all kind of understand and adhere to. And I like the way they challenge those themes in specific circumstances on DS9, and that's exactly what they continue to do in this episode as well.
Mm. Yeah, I was just thinking that we have Ferengi and Quark have the rules of acquisition. We made up the rules of obfuscation for Garrick. Maybe Bashir should have the rules of preservation, right? The rules of preservation, sir.
So, yeah, they could have the rules of preservation, and I think
He's
that,
got a few.
yeah, I think Bashir is taking. I really like his maturity in this episode. I like the way he's kind of really grown into himself as the doctor on the show. He's owning that role and that responsibility, and we've seen him grow from being this kind of unsure person who's figuring out what he wants to do on the station, to now owning the role of being in charge of people's lives on this show. So I like the approach that Bashir is taking, and he's willing to even gamble his friendship with O'Brien in this, which is another thing that they delve deep into, and I enjoyed as well.
Mm. Yeah, it was a good episode for Bashir. It was really one of his first really good episodes, because not only is he being a doctor following the Hippocratic Oath, but he also has to kind of take charge at certain points. He does, even though he's talking to his friend, when his friend says, and that's the end of it, he basically says, no, no, no. You might be alpha when we're hanging out, but I'm in charge technically and morally right now. So we're going to go ahead and do things my way. I was surprised, though, and this is definitely not a usual Star Trek kind of thing, but that O'Brien did not obey him. He was like, okay, sure, I'll do it. And then he totally didn't. He betrayed him as a friend and as an officer. And I know we're jumping around here, but I did find it a little strange that when he shot the jem'hadar guy at the end there, Bashir just goes, okay, I'll go with you. He was just like, all right, you win, whatever, moving on. But yeah, it was definitely a different trope for O'Brien to just fully betray him.
Yeah, and what we always learn in watching these episodes is the complexity of situations. Nothing is as clear cut as just white and black. There's all the shade of gray, and that's where DS9 is best at. They're best at delving into the shades of gray and deciphering, which way, what is really right and what is really wrong, and if you reverse the shoes, does it still hold true? And so I think that's one of the things that they do so well in this series, and this show is just another example of it.
Yeah, it is something, by the way. I don't know if you remember this or did this on purpose, but they did mention shades of gray. Sisko even said Quark definitely operates in the gray areas, like, to put it mildly.
Right.
But yeah, it's true, and that's what puts Deep Space Nine different than the others, is that with Star Trek, you usually know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Even when there's like an unsure decision to be made, about morality, there isn't necessarily an unsure decision to be made about who's the good guy and who's the bad guy necessarily. Whereas Deep Space Nine, everybody is on a spectrum. Nobody is fully good and nobody's fully bad. Everybody's on a spectrum, which is good because that's how life is. And it also makes for more nuanced stories and more realistic stories. I don't know why I think about this right now, but what did you think of Bashir's outdoor office? Like, that was the first thing I thought when he's like, "Here's where you'll be working." It's kind of like he just got hired on a new day. He's like, "Here's your outdoor office. Have a seat." I mean, he had a table. It was nice. He had some little indoor plants hanging off the side. It's pretty cute. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't give it much thought, but I did
I'm
kind of
shocked.
But I did look at some of the sets and some of the the background. My eye did go into that a little bit, and what I did see is I actually wrote it down. It was kind of a dark, and I know they do that in some cases to hide things so that you can't see everything.
Yeah.
But there were moments when I was looking and I wanted to see more detail, and it was kind of really a little dark for me to actually see it with clarity. So I would have liked to have seen more lighting actually in this particular episode.
Yeah, they did have interesting lighting choices too. If, like, you see the guy behind me, it was kind of striped. Like, there are a lot of like blinds and things like that, or whatever, crates, whatever makes this kind of lighting. I wonder what the decision, the impetus for that kind of decision was, but that it was definitely noticeable that there was a lot of light and dark. Just made it interesting. I don't know if that's a director's choice or a DP's choice, but there was certainly something interesting there. We also had a NAM for Keiko. Keiko got a NAM. I don't think they mentioned Molly too, but so for everybody at home, a NAM is a non-appearance mention, which means everybody that gets mentioned without actually being in the episode, because that kind of expands on their character. People think about their character as just the episodes we see them in, but they're talking about the character when they're not there too, and that just adds to the depth of that character. And so that gives her 8th NAM of the season, which ties her at the top now with Rom with 8, and Jake and Nog each have 7. But what did you think of that little squabble that O'Brien was telling Bashir about with Keiko and making a workbench in their bedroom?
Yeah, as soon as you said workbench in the bedroom, I was like, "Oh, here in the doghouse, man. You can't bring your work into the bedroom."
But if she's not home, I feel like he could say, "Look, obviously it shows that I'm faithful to you, because nobody's going to try to bring a girl home when there's a workbench there." She should be like, "Oh, so it's messy and dirty and full of hammers and stuff. I like that. I'm glad it's like that when I'm gone."
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but I mean,
probably not.
No, what's wrong with the living room? Use the den or something, but don't do it in the bedroom. I don't want grease on my pillow on my side of the bed. No, I thought that was a little bit overboard, and it's funny because it's kind of what guys do, guy things, and sometimes those things are a little bit ridiculous. Usually, your man cave goes in the garage or in the basement somewhere. But
wait! You're trying to say that the things that guys do is ridiculous?
No, I'm just saying that sometimes things guys
oftentimes
do yes, not all the things, but sometimes.
Yeah.
And we know when we're relegated to our garage space, and that's our domain. And so I thought it was a little bit ridiculous that he would want to make his man cave in the bedroom. Like, that's not exactly the place to do it. But I thought the interchange between them, the exchange between them was really good. I like the way O'Brien kind of was, trying to describe his ideal woman would be more like a man, and then Bashir calls him out on it. So, did you say you'd be happy if she was a man?
You wish you were dating a man?
exactly.
I hate you, Julian.
No, his answer was, I wish I was on this trip. I wish I was on this trip with someone else. That's what I wish.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. I
And
bet you
and I
though,
got that one.
I will say that I'll bet if that script were written today, 25 years later, it would be handled a little more differently. Um, because what was okay back then about kind of like, making a slightly, gay-ish joke or feminine joke was kind of the punchline. Nowadays, that's not a punchline anymore. People have a better understanding of that, and it has to be more nuanced. Like, it's okay to make jokes about certain things, but that can't be the entire punchline because that is not a punchline. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So when I saw that, I was like thinking, how would they handle that differently now? In other words, how would they handle it better? And I'm not sure if there is a way. They might just, I mean, I'm sure they could come up with a way. They're pretty creative.
yeah. They could probably. Obviously, this show's written in the '90s, and it was a totally different time as far as what society was willing to accept and what was appropriate. So
Yeah.
those things have changed over time. But I would apply it to who O'Brien is as a character, and to me, it actually really wouldn't require much change if you consider the fact that O'Brien is this kind of a macho man type of guy and just who he is as a person. So I don't think it's too far fetched to kind of tease him about,
Good
oh, do
point.
you wish you wish she was a man?
Is
I
that
don't see it.
it's being true to the character of
It's
O'Brien.
being
That's a
true to
good
the
point.
character. I don't look at it as a some kind of way to take an assault on homosexuality or anything. I didn't view it that way.
Right. It's kind of like on, a lot of shows, they have the character like that, like say Peter Griffin in Family Guy. He'll say any old stupid thing. But usually what they do is they surround him with people saying, hey, that's not right, or that's stupid, or something like that. So maybe the slight difference they would do is just changing Bashir's reaction to it. Like, something there. But you're right that is kind of true to the character. He is a very like, I just want to play with my tools, and I just drink my whiskey, and it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and he often gets he has issues with his communication. Sometimes when he says things, it comes out wrong, and
Definitely
that's
did this
kind of
time.
he definitely did this time. And so I just think as far as the character is concerned, it's consistent with who he is as a character, and I don't see it as an attack. Maybe there would be a slight edge taken off of Bashir's response, and maybe he would have phrased it a little bit differently, maybe different emphasis on certain words. But I don't think you would drastically say, "No, we can't do the scene.
Yeah,
It's
you're
too
right.
much."
Especially because the joke is mostly that, kind of like when we say that there's a clear bromance going on there. He's basically
Right.
saying, God, I wish my wife was more like you. And Bashir's like, really? Yeah. Pretty obvious you feel that way anyway, O'Brien. You don't have to act all shy about it.
Yeah, I think he said it before almost. I think this is not the first time he said that he wished his wife was like Bashir or kind of like something like that. I thought that came up before, but
He wants her in
um,
that tight spandex that Bashir wears when they're playing tennis and stuff, when he's running around and playing racquetball or whatever they do.
yeah, so yeah, they have a bromance, and that's indicative of two guys ribbing each other. That's not really too far fetched for me. I thought it was not that inappropriate, but I mean, I can understand somebody being offended by it, but I don't think it's grossly offensive, when you look at it.
Kind of like when they come out of the shuttlecraft and Bashir goes, smells like a garbage dump. And Chief says, sorry, I couldn't find a nicer place to crash land. Want to try again? These guys
Yeah.
are they're always squabbling. Do you think they squabble well, no, I guess Odo and Quark probably squabble the most, but that's already established that they're frenemies. Whereas Bashir and O'Brien are just friends that always fight.
Yeah, they have to be up there for the biggest kind of squabblers in the franchise. Um, but it works well. It works well because that they need the best for each other. And obviously Bashir. I'm sorry, O'Brien wouldn't leave without him. because Bashir said, "Go ahead, leave. Don't worry about me. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do this. You want to go? The door's open. You can leave and take
Yeah.
the runabout and go
And
back."
O'Brien's was like, "No, I'm in love with you. I mean, I don't want to get court-martialed."
So yeah, they clearly have their friendship works, and I think it's a real one and a genuine. But it was funny because there were a few moments where Bashir. There was one moment in particularly where he was just a little bit ridiculous. I think he says something to. Oh yeah, he said, "Good job, Chief," or something like that. Bashir says to the Chief, and Chief says, "Coming from you, that means a lot to me." And Bashir's answer was, "I know." It's just like, I know. Like, who says that?
That's
I
our
know.
man
Carry on.
Bashir.
Yeah. So there's really good interaction there. But I wanted to talk a little bit about these jem'hadar, and I thought the lead jem'hadar in this particular one was really good as an actor. So I wanted to make sure he gets his shout out for
Yeah,
that.
boy. They do dive pretty deep into the jem'hadar in the next few seasons, and this so far is kind of like the first bit of touching on it. And it's really cool because, I mean, like, look at the detail in these guys. Would you say that they're kind of reptilian? Is that what that looks like to you?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the dinosaurs, a dinosaur person. Yeah.
Yeah, the actor, I could look up the actor. I did take a quick glance when I watched this, and I didn't recognize the actor. But his
Yeah.
name is Scott Mcdonald.
Okay, the name doesn't ring a bell, but I thought his performance was good as a jem'hadar, particularly as a c- compassionate jem'hadar who's trying to actually change their circumstance and find a way to liberate
Right.
his people.
Here are a few things. He was in The Call of the Wild, great book by Jack London. I guess it's a movie now. Lots of movies. I haven't heard of most of these. Prototype, Bionic Commando, a lot of voiceover work in video games. He was in ER, Dexter. Yeah, lots of voiceover, which is good because, how did I not know this? He was also in 8 episodes of a TV show called Star Trek Enterprise. Who knew? I didn't realize that. I guess with all that makeup on, he was Commander Dolim. So everybody check that out. Commander Dolim in Star Trek Enterprise. He's also in Stargate, The X-Files, Charmed, tons of stuff. Jack Frost. Anyway.
Yeah, I love Dolomite.
Hey! So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right.
We do actually have to take our quick break. But let's dive into the jem'hadar on the other side of this. There are a couple other things, the Ketracel White, really cool stuff. And we'll talk about very quickly about the cutting room floor trivioids that didn't make it. Boy, some great ones this time. And we'll be right back on the Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. We're reviewing Deep Space Nine Season 4, Episode 4, Hippocratic Oath. Good one for our man Bashir, which is also the title of a Deep Space Nine episode coming up, as you Deep Space Nine nerds know. Here are the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor at the very beginning, at the top of the show. Regana Tosh is known to be associated with a Markalian smuggling operation. Kira thinks Quark has a lot in common with a Raconian swamp rat, which he does not, by the way. That was very hurtful. Chief and Bashir have concluded their bioscan of Merrick 3 in the Gamma Quadrant 2 days early. O'Brien wishes Keiko was more like a man. We definitely covered that one. Sisko tells Worf to stay in his lane. Bashir gets a new outdoor office. Quark is arranging to acquire a Type 4 Talonian microscanner. And Sisko makes a pendulum. By the way, did you notice the pendulum that he was making when Worf comes in?
I noticed he was making something. I didn't know it was a pendulum, though.
I think it was a pendulum. Let me see. Check this out. I don't know if you can see it in this picture. See the thing hanging right there?
Yeah.
It was like a pendulum with two crystals sticking out for fun, I guess, or to be like stabby if Ducat shows up.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what that was. I was curious.
You were major curious.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. But Sisko's always kind of tinkering with some kind of thing. Sometimes, he's always finding a little. Either he's cooking and making some food, or he's tinkering with some kind of model kit or something that he's building. So he is a tinkerer when he's in his quarters. You're having fun back there with your visual effects, I see.
Yeah, I'm trying to change my green screen. That's what I was like, hurry up, buy me some time while I play with my green screen, because when with the days ending sooner, I'm losing some of that light. That's okay. As Gloria Gaynor says, I will survive. Right.
Captain, I need to talk to you about something. Odo is late. Yeah.
See if that helps. That was a pretty good Worf, by the way. Boy, now go. So thing on. So let's see. Yeah, the jem'hadar. One thing I did want to mention about the jem'hadar, their names. They have the weirdest names, but they all have similarities. They have a very clear style. They have like the first half of their name is 4 or 5 letters, dual syllabic every time. Then they have an apostrophe, and then they have 4 or 5 letters after that, 1 or 2 syllables. So, for example, there was Goran Agar, then there was Arak Taral, and Meso Klon. We do meet some more with the Klon secondary name, whatever that means, and Temo Zuma. Goran Agar, Arak Taral, Meso Klon, Temo Zuma. It's a very clear style what they have there. Tough to remember, though.
Tough to remember, and makes me think of just how do they, where do they come up with these names? Like, it's just like it's a difficult thing for me to just kind of comprehend. Where are they coming up with these names?
They almost remind me a little bit of maybe Aztecian old, Mexican things, like Teotihuacan or something. I can't remember. But they have like these kind of longer ones that end in Huacan or Michoacan. That's actually a current city. But that's what it reminds me of. And, Zuma, like Montezuma, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. Because sometimes we can kind of recognize like a language that they're borrowing from, whether it's Pacific Islander or whether it's, in this case, maybe Aztecian. That was the only thing I can think of.
No, I haven't given it much thought, but I'm more captivated by the makeup and how well it looks, and
right.
I like that aspect of them.
I mean, it certainly takes a lot of detail. I mean, look at that. It's just there's a lot going on, and you can tell. You know why they're so stressed out. I mean, look at all this stuff. They're clearly very horny. Thank you. Those of you that are just listening, I'm pointing at the horns on his head. That's all I was saying. Just pointing at the horns all over. He's very horny.
They are horned.
Yeah, that's a better way to say horned. Yeah, let's go with that one instead. Let's do. So Goran Agar, I believe, was the leader. That's this guy. And the second was Arak Taral. Yeah, good actor. He, clearly voice actors are also usually going to be good behind makeup, because a lot of times the makeup hides all of your facial reactions. Sometimes it hides your eyes or your mouth. So you need to be able to just portray a feeling or an emotion or a thought just with your voice, so he's clearly a seasoned voice actor.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting about this episode that I think is a little bit different than any others that I've seen is usually everything gets wrapped up in a little bow tie and everything is
right,
all solved and figured out at the end. So as I was watching this episode, my first inclination was, okay, Bashir is going to do some samples and reverse
save the day. They're all going to be friends.
They're going to be friends.
They're going to put their hand on his shoulder and say, we will let you go for saving us, but do not come back into jem'hadar space until we meet again, Bashir, or whatever.
Right. And so that was what I was expecting. So watching the episode, I'm like, okay, they're going to wrap this up in a nice little bow tie at the end. Bashir's going to find the thing at the last second. I know what it is. It's this, it's that, it's this. But there wasn't any of that. And that was kind of a left turn that this episode took, which is a little bit unexpected for me as a viewer. I was thinking, wow, they didn't save the day, and these people are going to die, and they're going to abandon them. And I think Bashir says something about, we were supposed to play darts today, but I don't, and O'Brien's like, yeah, I'm not in the mood for it either.
Yeah, but because a lot of that could break up a friendship right there,
Right. He says you could report me and get me court-martialed for what I did. I didn't obey your orders. And we cost some people their lives. But I think that's kind of the difficulty. That's the kind of hard decisions that they make. There's this was a quote from Discovery, but Burnham in Discovery says sometimes there are no easy decisions. And this is one of those cases where there wasn't really an easy decision. It felt like they were faced with, either help them and then they get killed, or don't help them and they get killed.
Well, there were a lot of not easy decisions. Bashir had a difficult decision in what he was going to do. O'Brien had a difficult decision in how he was going to go about things. He tried to escape, which nearly cost him his life. And then Bashir said, don't ever do that again. And then he does it again anyway, risking his life and risking his friendship and his career. And then the main jem'hadar guy, Aron Eisenberg, I think it was his name. I already forgot, but I think it's Aron Eisenberg. He was making tough decisions the whole time. That was the most difficult decision, was at the end, not just letting them go, but his decision to, about killing his people, also a very difficult decision when they were flying home. And Bashir makes the decision to go against Starfleet regulation, which is he's supposed to report what O'Brien did, but instead he keeps his mouth shut about it. And Odo does the same thing for Worf. Worf screws up and Odo keeps out of his report. So this whole episode did have the theme of having someone's back, and kind of going against the rules and having someone's back. But there was a lot of that in this episode, and that's what makes Star Trek so good.
And not only having somebody's back, but having somebody that is that is somebody that's your friend, question your decisions. So Worf was questioning Odo's decision making. He was questioning his process. Mm-hmm. He was questioning his procedure. And O'Brien was also doing the same with Bashir. He was questioning his reasoning, questioning his decision making. And so that was another theme that was running through this episode.
Right. And the jem'hadar second in place guy was questioning his elder.
Exactly. So that was another theme running through this episode, where people that were close to you questioning your motives, questioning your procedures, questioning how you come to conclusions. So I thought that was another theme that was well handled in this episode. But this jem'hadar, the issue itself, I thought, was a really critical issue to how we could solve this Dominion War issue that's looming in front of us.
Right.
And I was thinking, Bashir actually was well intentioned, and his intentions could have big payoffs down the road had he cured the jem'hadar in this particular situation, because they would have actually had some knowledge on how to pry the jem'hadar away from the grip of the Vorta and thus the Dominion, right? The founders.
Yeah. There was. What do you think about? Because we mentioned it, but what do you think about the main jem'hadar, Garanagar's decision at the end there to let them go because he's going to go kill his people? And I actually had to rewind it to really catch the nuance there, because I was like, that doesn't sound right. I don't understand the motivation. There always has to be, even if you don't agree with someone's decision, in good writing, you have to understand how and why they came to that conclusion. And I had to rewind it to get it, but now I get it. Was that he finally accepted that there was no cure for this addiction. He was just lucky, genetic mutation or whatever it was. He was not addicted, and they were all going to die slowly and painfully. So he's going to go out and hunt them so that they don't die slowly and painfully, that they just theoretically and hopefully all die quickly. It's a lot to chew on. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, it was crazy, because in that moment, I think the jem'hadar told O'Brien and Bashir, he asked if either one of them had fought or served on the lines.
You were soldiers, yeah.
Yeah, any of you been soldiers before? And Chief O'Brien said, I have. And then he basically said, well, then you explain it to your buddy what I'm doing here.
Right, that was beautiful, yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing, because and it's funny, because tying into again Discovery, that we leave no soldier behind. We leave no, this is the theme of our military, which is we leave no fallen soldier behind, right? And that's the honorable thing to do, right? Is to go down with the ship, as they say, right? The captain goes down with the ship. He doesn't abandon ship first. Everybody else goes first, and he'll go down with it. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of strong convictions that it takes to be a good leader in any kind of military organization. You have to be able to have that level of commitment. I'm going to lead you in a battle, then I'm going to put my life on the line, just like you're putting your life, because I'm asking you to put your lives on the line. And I can't ask of you what I wouldn't do myself. And so I think that's one of the things that shows integrity and honor in the military.
Yeah. And then Bashir or O'Brien did explain it to Bashir. He did say, well, this is why. And, basically what you're saying. So, that was cool. And I do wonder, I was never in the military, but I do wonder if military people are like, right, you got it, or if somebody, or maybe they consulted a military person in the writing of this, but whatever it is, I'm sure they didn't miss the mark there.
Yeah, well, I kind of, you asked about his rationale and why he would go back and deal with the people that are about to die and mm-hmm. fight them, kill them himself. But I feel like, if he goes with Bashir and O'Brien and abandons them and says, okay, I'll leave with you guys. These guys are gonna have to fight it out themselves. When the supply is out, they'll realize and they'll all die. He wouldn't have the integrity that he ended up having at the end. He would just be, he would be worse than the people that are trying to enslave them and to keep them in drug addicted. So,
right. And if those jem'hadar did end up escaping, they would be coming after him, because they would hate him. He would lose all of, the respect that they had for him. He really didn't have, that really was not a good option for him.
It wasn't a good option, but I would say that I think he made a big mistake by coercing all of these other jem'hadar to come join him in this place of refuge so that they could become sober, without actually having a plan on how that would happen, because he didn't know for sure that it was the planet or that's those environmental things that changed his addiction to this Ketracel White. So it seemed like it wasn't that well thought out on his part. I mean, he's not addicted, and he may be the anomaly, but I feel as though he could have accomplished what he wanted to accomplish by just going to Starfleet Medical and saying, "Hey, I'm not addicted. Examine me, study my biology, and figure out what it is why I'm able to either produce it myself naturally or whatever it is the case, so that we can reproduce these results for the other jem'hadar." I think that would be the way to go if you wanted to make the biggest impact.
Right. And Bashir probably didn't have, the stuff that he would need to take all those scans or whatever, but he could obviously figure it out, like comparing this jem'hadar to other jem'hadar. He could find what the mutation is or whatever the difference happens to be. Good point. Because that did take me a second to kind of wrap my brain around. I was like, wait a minute, why doesn't he just? I'm like, okay, I get it now. I see. Makes sense.
The other thing I was thinking about would be a solution if I were Bashir and if I was faced with this same kind of problem. My inclination would be to make a synthetic Ketracel White that didn't have some of the same addictive properties or some of the bad properties to it. So, I mean, we deal with synthetics all the time, and it's not unusual to make substances that are similar to the substance that they would be addicted to.
It's true. It's not unusual, Tom Jones. But there was, the thing is with Ketracel White is that the main component or the main thing that makes it what it is that it is addictive. So the synthetic thing they would have to give would have to still have whatever it is that's addictive about it, but just less, and kind of slowly wean them off of it. But because they're genetically created, so it's not like they become addicted by taking it, many times or whatever, or just that they're born with a gene or whatever it is. It's that for the rest of their lives, they will feel withdrawal symptoms if they don't take it, because they are forever addicted to it. They're not just addicted, but they're biologically dependent on it as far as like nutrients is concerned. So it's a really insidious, thing that they've put inside of their biology, to where, just like air to us, we'll never get over our dependency to air. We cannot wean ourselves, even if we hold our breath and try, for weeks, we try to breathe less air, we'll still be dependent on air forever. And I think that's what they've done with the jem'hadar. So that's why it's such a terrible thing, is that there is no way out of it. But you're right that they could create something synthetic that would, I don't know, at least make it to where they're not dependent on the Ketracel White. They could take something that's just like time capsule releases, and then they just take it once a year or something like that, and it just stays in their body. I don't know.
Well, for me, the big thing would be to take the leverage that the Vorta has by having it over them. So creating a synthetic version really wouldn't cure them of the problem, but it would leave them of being slaves to the Vorta and therefore being their soldiers. You know what I mean? So it would solve that particular problem. So now they could be free people, do whatever you want to do, but you'd still be dependent on this synthetic drug now.
Y'all got any more of that Ketracel White? Yeah.
I got the generic.
So I think we definitely covered that plenty. Is there anything more to talk about with Quark and the other alien, Markalian, I think he was? Yeah, Markalian. We don't know too much about them. They kind of pop in and out every once in a while. Kira has her Tarkalian T, as we know. Did we even see Dax in this episode at all? I don't even think she was there.
No, I don't think we saw Dax.
She certainly wasn't necessary to the episode.
No, she wasn't. But we did see Odo do one of his morphs in this episode, which is, it's a rare thing for him to actually use his skills and powers. We don't get to see him transforming into different things all the time, but he did in this episode, and he was undercover during the Quark transaction. So I thought that was kind of cool to watch, But I think we really covered a lot of this. This was the A story, obviously being the jem'hadar and them dealing with this issue, but I also like the B story of Worf kind of fitting in his awkward fit-in way that you talked about,
taking his lumps,
taking his lumps, So I enjoyed that too as the B storyline. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, Odo is a handbag, and he was going to infiltrate the entire Markalian smuggling operation, and then Worf ruined it. And Odo took it pretty well. Usually he gets pretty mad, but he's like, whatever. He's like, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling Klingons or whatever. He kind of takes it okay. But they did definitely have it out a couple scenes prior. Odo really kind of gave it to him. He's like, oh, you better leave me alone, Worf. You better, whatever he says. But there was definitely some stern words between them.
Yeah, my favorite one is when Odo said, I'm not interested in your assessment of my job performance.
Ooh.
I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Quark Odo gets tough when he wants to, but he doesn't care if that Klingon knows how to fight with a bat lip. He's going to give it to him.
Right, but I would say it would have been good if Odo just says, oh, Worf, let me just explain to you what my plan is. I'm actually just infiltrating these guys. Oh, there you go. Done. He could have just told him that instead of being like, well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to pretend like I don't care. And you'll see, maybe that was his way of, I guess, teaching him a lesson. But it would have been cool if he was just like, oh, I can see the misunderstanding. Don't worry. I'm watching Quark, and here's my plan. Don't know why I didn't just do that.
Yeah, he could have. He could have. I feel like he didn't want to answer to anybody. That's
right.
Because Worf was saying he's going to meet in tonight, and he's going to be there, and Odo be like, "Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know. Okay, good to know. Thank you for the info." But like you said, he could have said, "Oh, yeah, I knew that already. I've been investigating this, so I can't disclose what I know, but thank you for your information. I'm well aware of it, and I'm on top of it." But he didn't really reassure Worf like that. He
was kind of enjoying it, messing with him.
He was enjoying it, yeah. And Sisko seemed to be enjoying it a little bit too, because he could have put an end to it and said, "Worf, I don't want you doing it. Leave him alone. He knows what he's doing." But they both were like kind of letting Worf walk into this.
Some new guy hazing.
Yeah, a little new guy hazing.
That reminds me. There's only a couple minutes left.
Uh-oh. Ryan's rants.
Right. It's time for the nitpick of the day.
What's your nitpick?
Bashir and O'Brien were leaving 2 days early to get back to the Deep Space Nine, but they were on that planet for over 2 days. We know this for a fact because the guy said they only had 5 days of Ketracel White, and then they only had 3 days left. You subtract that, that's 2 days. At some point, Deep Space Nine should have been like, where's Bashir and O'Brien? I mean, I guess they don't care anymore. Why don't they send Worf on that mission? Why don't they send Kira? What? Sisko doesn't care. Sisko's too busy. Anyway, that's the nitpick of the day.
Yeah, very good, very good. And then I would add to your nitpick.
Oh boy,
the fact that they can beam out at any particular moment. It seems weird that you'd be held captive. As soon as I saw some jem'hadar, I'm like, beam out, beam me out.
Well, they're stuck in the Gamma Quadrant. Who knows? But but this is the big one. This is the big point of the day. Here we go. Jake Sisko guesses the guesses the IMDb score of Deep Space Nine episode. What do you think the IMDb score is today?
Well, you know what? This season 4 has probably started with the highest marks. The first few episodes have been really amazing. The Way of the Warrior and The Visitor, obviously, we're just coming off of that. I would say that this episode was probably around an 8, give or take a 0.2.
Ooh-wee, you are good at this. 7.8. Right on there, yeah. 7.8, solid. This was October 16th, 1995, almost exactly 25 years ago. So, good guess. Good episode, good fun, lots of character development. Seems like a good one. We do want to give a special shout out and a special thank you to Carmen Shamwell, PJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey, Bill Victor Arucan, Yvette Blackmon, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, and Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Susan V. Gruner, doctor, or maybe they say PhD. That's the way they say it. Rex A. Wood and Robert Weissburg. Thank you all very much. And there you are. Whew, what a relief! I thought you left me too soon there.
No, I'm here.
Thank you all very much. Stick around for the free for all. That's next. We're going to be joined by some awesome associate producers, and we'll see you on the other side on the 7th Rule.
Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there.
And happy Thanksgiving Day. Early.
Yes. Early.
Got this. Don't get up all in his grill.
Yeah, he's all up in his behind. Hey, man, back up, man. Give me some work room.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Free for All. That's a little behind the scenes stuff for you. Behind the scenes. We are here, Cirroc Lofton, as always, with him.
Hello.
We also have Miss Katie Carr out in Indiana, I think.
Yeah.
Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Malissa Longo, and TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri. How's everybody doing?
Amazing.
Awesome.
Good.
Great.
Melissa has her awesome Ferengi shirt on. Ta-da.
Thursday. Ferengi Thursday.
Yeah. The great room will provide.
Anybody else have Anne-Marie, do you have a...
I have a Captain
I had a
forever.
feeling.
Wait.
Hang on,
It's one of my 3 Captain Nog Forever sweatshirts. I can't even get up. Okay.
Why? What's going on over there?
Nice.
I have wires everywhere with my computer.
Actually, that made me think of something when you just said that, Melissa, about Ferengi Thursday. I guess you would have it as Ferengi Friday would be the right way to say it, right? Because Ferengi Fridays. What would be the other days of the week?
Ooh,
Wednesday.
like Sorry and Saturday. What did you say? Weigh-in Wednesday.
Solely and Thursday. No. Yep.
Hey, that's a good one.
Trans Sunday. Well, he's a character, but.
Or like this episode, Markalian Monday. Look how hard Anne-Marie's thinking right now. Did you see her? Everybody that's watching, go to what I just said and then cue back 5 seconds. Just go back 5 seconds. You'll see Anne-Marie going, really racking her brain for something. She's like, wait, you and Wednesday and Tholi and Thursday were really good. I got to come up with one.
No, I wanted to do the Move Along Home aliens, but it always takes me a second to remember their names.
Tuvok Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Very good.
Katie's got it.
Nice.
Yeah, Katie, she's got it. What about you, TJ? You got some ideas, I'm sure.
Ideas, you say?
You can add the R. That's what the British people do. Like how Picard doesn't say data. He goes Commander Data and I. You're like, where'd the art come from?
He said the same thing to Lursa. He called her Lurser in Generations. And I was like, why did he say it wrong?
Give me back my engineer. I go. Let's see. Days of the week. I think we already got them all.
Sisko Sunday.
Sisko Sunday.
Oh, perfect.
That was good. That was good.
Wharf
and
Wednesday.
Research.
And Marie, what are you doing?
I just can't remember the names of the Move On Home Aliens. It's driving me crazy.
Mycelial Monday.
No. Mycelial Monday. That's a deep cut right there.
That's on fire.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I can top Bowling Thursday.
That's a good one.
That's the only word I knew with a TH, man. That's all I had.
That's a winner.
That's a winner.
Halogen Tuesday.
I went to time Crystal Tuesday.
Ew. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what is a good Thursday? What is a good TH?
Michael Chiklis Monday.
Michael Chiklis.
Michael Chiklis. Oh man, he's back.
How about Michael Eddington Mondays?
Okay.
Oh, good one.
Okay.
Right.
So, I love this kind of stuff. That was a great idea, guys. Cirroc and I were talking about how Worf. Oh, by the way, do you guys have any thoughts on today's episode where Bashir goes and tries to save some jem'hadar from their Ketracel White addiction, and then Chief totally screws up bro code and screws him, like totally. It was so rude to Bashir. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on the episode? If you've seen him recently?
I didn't like how rude he was to Bashir, because Bashir was like, I mean, when you become a doctor, or like military or anything, you take an oath and take the Hippocratic Oath if you're a doctor, and your job is to save people. And Bashir was trying to save these people, and O'Brien wasn't too happy about that. So I thought Bashir was in the right.
Do you think that Bashir was it cute though at the end when Bashir's like, well, we won't play darts today, but maybe in a few days, or were you like, no, keep him in the doghouse longer?
I probably wouldn't have played with him for like probably a month. I would have probably either gotten a Dabo girl or Jadzia to play with me instead.
Yeah. Plus Bashir's got a backup. He can hang out with Garrick.
Yeah. Oh, I love their friendship.
But don't you think O'Brien has a case to be mad? Like, he was like, yo, I got this plan. We're going to blow up the thing, and everybody within 15 feet is going to get zapped, and we're going to make our way. And you would think that Bashir would say, actually, I don't want to do that. Like, wouldn't he give him the heads up before he actually started executing the plan?
And when I was
I'd be mad if I was O'Brien.
When I was thinking about it, I was like, I wonder who could pull rank on who. Because, I mean, I know Bashir's a doctor,
but he's
so I would think
higher rank than
lieutenant, and a non-com.
Right.
Yeah.
Non-com. That's right.
But if I was O'Brien, I'd say, but I did 7 seasons on The Next Generation.
Yeah, so eat that.
I mean, O'Brien definitely.
I was on the Enterprise and you were.
O'Brien's got seniority. Is that what you're going to say, TJ?
Yeah.
He definitely has more experience. I mean, he's been in Starfleet for a very long time, and Bashir is pretty much fresh off the boat. This is season 3, and he came straight from the academy.
Right.
So, I mean, O'Brien definitely has the experience, especially military experience, and dealing with the war with the Cardassians and all the stuff that he's been through. So his experience definitely counts, but Bashir does have the ranks, so tough call.
Well, also, O'Brien has his family.
Arguments. I can see both arguments.
I could argue either side of that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of could too. I'm just probably more liking the more Bashir character-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, I like both, but I like Bashir.
But O'Brien almost got killed twice in this episode.
Yeah.
O'Brien almost got himself killed twice.
Well,
yeah, they were going to get him. They were going to get him. I think this is and I've been racking my brains, but I think this is kind of the only episode where we get to see, I don't want to say a softer side of the jem'hadar, or we see them, as, okay, they plead their case that, hey, we're slaves here and we don't have a choice, but we want to. Mm-hmm. And we want you to help us. Yeah, we shot you out of the sky, but now that we know that you're a doctor, we really like your help. We're trying to do something here.
Yeah.
Ever since then, ever since I first saw this episode forever ago.
At Sears?
No, it wasn't at Sears this time. We had a TV in the house. We weren't always at Sears.
You should be.
Not like I was.
But ever since I saw it, it made me fascinated with the jem'hadar. I really would have liked to have learned more of their story.
It definitely gave us a more sympathetic side.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the jem'hadar are truly outrageous.
Yes.
But that's where the conundrum.
I don't know if anybody got that. I feel like
I'm a major gem fan.
Truly outrageous.
There we go.
But anyway,
the jem'hadar's middle name is Marley, by the way. Sorry, what were you saying?
And by the way, why it's Waddy Wednesday.
What?
Waddy Wednesday. Waddy is the name of the movie.
Waddy, the aliens.
Just
it's super marketable. There's
you could just say,
a drunken song.
Just say Watto Wednesday. We can cross universes.
I thought you said Waldo Wednesday.
Sorry, what were you saying, Melissa?
Sorry, Melissa.
We're all sorry.
We would never find Waldo.
Sorry, Melissa.
Okay, I don't need to talk. I was going to say that's where the conundrum comes in, is because there's the jem'hadar are sentient to a point, and you have one that has a mutation, I guess, in their DNA, which frees him from the white. But and you have his, subordinates under him following his orders, but then you come to realize that they're not different from the other jem'hadars so much as the one jem'hadar is different from the other jem'hadars. So that's where the conundrum comes in. So that's why I can see both sides. Yeah, I think Bashir should help the guy who is free from their white, but I also see O'Brien's point of view of these are jem'hadar and shouldn't be trusted. They're killing machines. They're bred to be killers. So,
they're going to be out of white. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, real quick, Mr. Titus Mohler has joined us, by the way.
Titus.
Hey, Titus.
Hey.
Yay.
Sorry for being late.
Not at all. Not at all. I think we're all being very judgmental is all you're missing. We're like picking between the fights with O'Brien and Bashir, and then the fights with Worf and Odo. It's just like a battle day. I don't know if Titus, have you seen the episode recently that we're reviewing today, Hippocratic Oath?
Yeah, I was watching a little bit of it last night, so I know what you're talking about. Worf is still on the security beat, and yeah, they have the whole moral dilemma there in the Gamma Quadrant with the Gemma 2 with Bashir and O'Brien. Yeah.
So here's a fun and interesting question about today's episode. The same could be said between Worf and Odo, is that you can kind of see both sides. I mean, the Worf and Odo one seems pretty obvious that we should be taking Odo's side, saying like, hey, Odo's got this, and how Worf is always getting rejected on TNG, so he should be used to it by now, And
people come steal the ship.
But what I was thinking is, it would have also been, I kind of blame Odo, because the second Worf started being all fussy with him, Odo could have just been like, oh, actually, I'm planning on infiltrating the thing. Don't worry, I got, rather than just stringing him along and letting him guess, it was kind of like he was enjoying torturing him. So the question is, do you side more with Worf and Bashir, or O'Brien and Odo? It's like a tag team. You know, do you side more with Worf and Bashir, or with the double O's, Odo and O'Brien? I know that's
This is not a good choice.
Oh, you want to go first? All right, go ahead.
No.
Okay, sure.
No.
Please continue.
No, these are not good choices.
Do you want Anne-Marie to go first, or are you ready?
No, I'm not ready.
All right, Anne-Marie. Sorry, you've been nominated by
I'm team
Melissa.
O's.
Your team double O?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like Odo doesn't know Worf, so he can't really trust like how he'll react to the plan, and he could have blown it if he knew.
He blew it anyway.
He did tell Sisko, so like actually Sisko could have intervened more or something. And then O'Brien, it's just like towards the end where it becomes clear there's not enough white. Like there are other ways they could handle it. Like Bashir doesn't need to sacrifice himself to take care of the jem'hadar. Like they could have left and got help and then come back or something. And O'Brien has a family, and they were going to be out of white, so then it wouldn't be doing anybody good anyway. And like Bashir could do better for them if they broke out of there, and then he had access to his actual like lab in his medical bay.
Good point. That's a good point. The jem'hadar, what we didn't see was that they were apparently going to get married. It was going to be a Ketracel white wedding. TJ, do you have? Can you save me from? Can you save me?
It's always a nice day for a kid.
But which
TJ, he's got my back. See, TJ has my back.
Ooh, which two jem'hadar?
Oh my gosh.
All right, so this is a tough choice, but you know I'm with Odo, in which he's specifically explained himself as to why he didn't share the plan. Which was because I don't report to you. Like you just got here. I run this. This is my house. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of with Odo. As much as I like Worf, I'm with Odo on that one. Worf was totally overstepped in that case, but it was still funny to watch. But on the O'Brien side, he overstepped a little bit too. But that doesn't mean that he was wrong. They definitely were not in a good situation there. And so I understand that Bashir, wanted to help. I wanted him to help. I think that's probably the way I would have reacted if, I was a doctor and knew stuff and thought I could help. But I felt like they could have been a little bit more coordinated on, what they were doing. I realized they disagreed, but I don't know. Tough call.
Sounds like you're more Team O on that one.
No. I don't know.
In like a Team G episode where like Beverly
I'm a jem'hadar sympathizer, so.
So you're Team WB?
WB.
Worf and Bashir.
No, I'm on Team Odo and Team Bashir.
Well, that's okay.
I know. I always break the rules. Don't you
That's
know that?
True. That's good. You had my back. I got to have yours. Okay.
That's true.
What about you, Katie? What are your thoughts?
O'Brien and Bashir wise, I'm gonna go with Bashir because he was a doctor, and it kind of reminded me like of a lot of times like on Voyager when Janeway would kind of like go out of her way to help alien species even though they're trying to get home, and she's still upholding like this Starfleet principle. And it kind of reminded me with Bashir, he's holding that doctor principle to help these people. And I totally get it from O'Brien's point of view because I am one, for security and rank and this and that. But I'll give it to Bashir, and then for Worf and Odo, I see Odo's point of view but I think Odo always was kind of like that kind of grouch sometimes. And I think he could, if he would have known Worf's background, like he could have done like a security check on Worf and like accomplishments he did on the Enterprise. So I think he was just I think he was kind of jealous of the territory and in a way jealous of Worf. And I don't think he understood kind of like that Klingon tenacity that he had. I mean, not much Klingons had been on before. I mean, I remember they were in past prologue in season 1 when the Duras sisters showed up. So there really wasn't a lot of Klingons. There might have been a few between seasons 2 and 3, but I don't think Odo was kind of used to that kind of Klingon personality either, and that Worf was very stubborn in his ways too. So I'm team WB.
Nice. So it's 1-1 and 1. Titus,
they both get a half.
Titus, what do you think? Do you who do you side more with, Team WB or Team 00?
I guess Team 00. I mean, I'm with TJ. I'd like to pick Bashir and Odo, but
that's why I put them on opposite sides.
Yeah, if I had to choose here,
that's
I guess
clever.
I would say yeah, O'Brien and Odo. Certainly, Odo's the one I'm really with there. I feel like it's his territory, and I think it's within his character too that he wouldn't feel the need to spill his guts to Worf on his whole plan and stuff. He'd say, why should I have to do that? Stay in your lane, Worf, is what he would probably say. And then O'Brien, yeah. See, with that storyline, I don't know if it's just the way it's written, but I'm really with Bashir. I'm thinking, no, he can. I guess Star Trek does this a lot. It's like, let's show them what we're all about. The Federation, we're here to help. We're good and stuff. And I always felt like, hey, this is an opportunity. He can help out the jem'hadar. They'll realize this foe of ours is not heartless and is not, I don't know, maybe the jem'hadar would just say, oh, well, you're weak. Great, here's our opportunity. But I still feel like they need help. And it's an opportunity for him to help them and then really, I don't know, maybe foster some opportunity there for some cooperation in the future. But I do see O'Brien's point as well, in terms of from a security perspective, that we can't exactly trust them a great deal right now. My heart is with Bashir though on that, but so I can see a little bit of O'Brien, and I can definitely see Odo's perspective. So I'll go with the O's.
Wow. Well, Malissa, what do you think? Double O's or Team WB?
See,
or Team TJ?
This was not. Well, I like Team TJ, but
that's a good team.
We're the Perch team, right?
That's right.
Oh, look out for glitter.
Glitter and the unicorns. We're gonna kill with kindness.
Yes. Kindness.
They're referencing a Facebook post.
Negativity
That's why.
and kill you with kindness.
Okay, all right.
It was a Facebook post. It's sorry. Please
he's
continue.
like, what?
Yeah, that's all right. Please continue.
I'm gonna go with begrudgingly Team O because I'm on Team Odo for sure. Because for one, Odo doesn't have to answer to Worf, so there's no reason for him to fill him in on what's going on, because Worf isn't part of security, so he has no business nosing around in the security files in the first place. I mean, sure, brush up on what's going on the station, but, stay in your lane, like TJ said. Titus said.
No, it's Titus, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's a stronger pull for me than choosing between O'Brien and Bashir. Like Titus said before, my heart would say Team Bashir because, the hope of reaching the jem'hadar and finding their humanity, if you will, is it's a strong urge to try and do, but at the end of the day, you have to look at the situation realistically, and you have the whole rest of the jem'hadar, or who are being starved of white and going through withdrawals. It's a dangerous situation. So that's why O'Brien is right too. So Team O.
Wow. Well, Cirroc, there's 3 for Team OO, 1 for WB, and 1 for the tie. What are your thoughts?
Well, I can see everybody's motivation in this particular one. The only one I really don't agree that much with is Worf. I feel like he was going a little bit overstepping his boundary. He made a report of it. He made notice of it. He reported it, and that should be enough. But he actually went on investigating. He's hiding in Quartz Bar upstairs, looking down, sneaking. He went a little bit. He overstepped, in my opinion. He overstepped. But this is what I would say. Originally when they first ran into the jem'hadar were saying, "Oh, we're going to kill O'Brien because he's somebody that's useful, and we're going to get rid of him." The doctor there, we can keep him for a hostage situation and maybe trade him or something. So right away, O'Brien's life was pretty much more threatened than Bashir's life. So Bashir's looking at it through the lens of, yeah, they need me. I'm totally useful. O'Brien's like, yeah, that's good for you, but me, I'm the guy they're about to kill.
That's true.
It's also like, what about O'Brien's life for the Hippocratic Oath, which is like an angle I haven't thought of before.
Yeah, so I look at it in that way. I think O'Brien is like, hey, you don't understand. Like, this is a life or death moment here. And I agree with Bashir's wanting and willingness to, examine the problem and try to fix what the problem is. That's why I think this whole thing is actually started by the jem'hadar, who initially decided to invite all his friends to this planet so that they can all be cured of this addiction. That to me was the wrong approach to begin with. Like, you didn't know that the planet was the thing that cured you. You didn't know how you got cured. The right approach would have been to actually submit himself into a hospital or into some kind of care so that he could be analyzed by a professional like Bashir, who would have examined him and said, okay, this is why you are not addicted. So I think that the jem'hadar themselves actually took the wrong approach altogether. And that's forcing these other subsequent situations. So O'Brien, I'm going to give it to him. He wanted to save not only his life, but he wanted to save Bashir's life. So I would say that he was doing the right thing. And I'm also agreeing with Odo that it's not, he doesn't have any requirements to be reporting to anybody, especially considering the fact that Odo had been on that station before the Federation even got there. And so he knows that place inside and out. That's his stomping ground. That's his home court. And Worf is just showing up. So he doesn't really have the authority to be like poking his nose around into that stuff in that kind of a way, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Team 00.
007.
O'Reilly.
There we go. Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, that eliminates it. That's 4-1 right there. But I'm going to go Team WB because I had plenty of time I thought I was Team 00, but then I had plenty of time to think about it while you guys told us your thing. Well, no, I was just thinking like both are cases of somebody breaking the rules, basically, right? So, Worf is, breaking the rules. He's overstepping his boundaries. He's doing what he's not supposed to be doing. O'Brien is breaking a direct order. So I look at it as which rule breaking is the more egregious one. And that's obviously O'Brien. That's, breaking a direct order and betraying a friend. Worf isn't really betraying a friend or breaking an order. And also, what are the higher stakes? Well, if, Worf screws it up for Odo, they just don't catch this smuggling ring. If O'Brien screws it up for Bashir, then people are going to die. So that's also higher stakes. So for those two things, I would definitely say that I would have to side with Team Worf and Bashir, the losing team.
Shouldn't a doctor though not if they obviously have to put Hippocratic Oath first. So then should they really be in command giving orders too?
Great point.
The two things can be at odds, which I never really thought about until just now.
That's a good point. He should be making the call for himself and maybe for his patient, but not for the other people that are not bound by his oath. Yeah, good point.
True.
It's not like Beverly Crusher just on the bridge being a doctor, like being a commanding officer. She doesn't do that while she's working in sickbay.
He did give the option to O'Brien to leave, though. He told O'Brien that you can leave if you want to.
You go, I'll stay.
I would have left.
Yeah, I would have left.
So nice.
I was like, you stay here and talk to these jem'hadar and see if you can rationalize.
But then O'Brien cares about.
He's too nice.
Yeah, he knows.
He's his friend, so of course he's not going to leave him behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all I know is that we have come to the same place and breathe the same air and eaten the same food. It should have worked.
Yeah, unfortunately, the jem'hadar don't have the tools to recognize that might not be what's causing this.
Yeah.
Poor guys. It was a good theory, though.
Cute though. I just want to pinch their cheeks. They look so cute in this episode.
Captain.
Love all the little spike things that they have going all around.
Ryan thought they were really horny.
Of course.
Cirroc, grow up. Why do you always make those jokes? People are going to rewind on this and be like, actually, I heard you saying that joke 20 minutes ago. because they have horns all over their face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Horned. That's all it means. Scaly.
That makeup looked uncomfortable.
They look like the dinosaurs to me. That's
what my mom called them. That's what they look like.
Like if a triceratops had a baby with a person. It would come out looking like
it's one thing the Kardashians have a spoon, but this is they even have horns in the end. You can't even hug them.
There's one thing we know, that there's definitely not the mama because they don't have any women.
Yeah.
What a sad society.
Yeah, I don't want to visit. I would have been out.
That's it.
Well, any final thoughts on the episode, anybody? Anne-Marie, Katie, Titus, TJ, Malissa?
I like the B plot better than the A plot.
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. Anybody else?
I do, only because it deals with Quark and his shenanigans and Worf getting used to what Quark does. Because I also don't think Worf was kind of used to somebody like Quark. Odo was used to that for 3 years. So.
Cirroc's pissed. Oh.
He's
like, how dare you?
Katie, I'm setting
throws it. That's a good point.
I thought the end scene was pretty good, where Sisko invites Worf in, and just kind of gives him a little bit more soft introduction to this world that they're in. That's not all black and white like it is on a starship, which has been your entire experience in Starfleet. So I thought that was a really great scene, well acted, well played, well written, and showed Sisko having some heart and being able to make some good judgments in circumstances that most of Starfleet couldn't handle.
Anybody else? Final thoughts?
Well, I had a final thought, and that was that I once again I pointed out that this episode didn't really have the kind of closure that we're used to and seeing in these episodes. They didn't cure them. They didn't save the day. Odo didn't bust the guy for smuggling, and so nothing really actually got wrapped up in a nice little bow the way things normally do on Star Trek. This is kind of one of those things where like, it didn't really work out the way we planned it. So I'll see you next.
A little bit open-ended.
Yeah, it was a little bit open-ended, which is unusual for Star Trek.
Which I really like because that's like real life.
That's
life.
Can I live with that?
White.
Yes, I can live with that.
It's full of gray. It's full of gray, and things aren't wrapped up in a nice little bow. At the
it's
end.
a good lesson for the real world too.
Yeah.
Or you binge until you get a good episode end.
And the other thing I thought was kind of interesting is that they mentioned the little boy that was a jem'hadar that grew up in front of their faces in 3 days that we saw earlier in the show. I mean, in the series. So, and the line was something about you wouldn't be able to handle a kid jem'hadar or something like that. I would have liked to see you handle that or something to that degree.
Luckily, they're only like that for like a day. Otherwise, it takes them 3 days. They're only kids for 3 days.
I got a quiz for Ryan and Cirroc. Do you remember the actor's name who played the kid jem'hadar?
No, but I remember looking him up, and we learned about him on IMDb, but I don't remember who it was.
I remember, but I'm just not going to say it until you say it.
I feel like he was a voice actor too, like he did a lot of like voiceover work or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I learned that listening to you guys about Bumper Robinson.
Oh, Bumper Robinson. Yeah.
Cliff Robinson's son.
Bumper Robinson.
No, not Cliff Robinson. Cliff Robinson was a basketball player.
Yeah, I saw his headband. He had a headband.
No, don't believe that, guys. Don't believe that.
Do we have proof that his dad's name is not Cliff? I don't know. We don't know.
That's true, but I think that's been debunked. You're putting false narratives.
He's Nate's brother.
Is that fake news?
Unsolved mysteries.
It could have been Jackie Robinson for all we know.
It's Nate's brother, yeah. Anyway, sorry about all the sports, guys. But thank you all so much for joining us. It was a great time. Thank you very much, Katie. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. TJ, thank you for always having my back. Malissa, thank you so much. Titus, thank you very much. Although you had yourself on mute, so every time you laughed, I'd look at you because I wanted to get the enjoyment of your laughter because I couldn't hear it.
Sorry. I was laughing a second ago because when you were talking about the fast-growing jem'hadar kids, I was just imagining like parents from all the different races getting together and just commiserating over child,
telling stories,
raising children. And imagine the jem'hadar saying, "Kids, am I right?" And everyone's just like, "Shut up." You have like 3 days of child period, and we have like a whole life.
Yeah. Day 2 was tough.
Terrible twos.
Terrible too.
Yeah, terrible twos.
Oh man. 3 days. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Tribble Tuesday.
Tribble Tuesday.
That's a great one.
And Thelonian Thursdays, because that's what kind of crystal they had. Thelonian.
Wow, nice. Deep cut. Oh, that marked a point right there. That sound effect meant point. All right. That's about it. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to
Saturdays.
You know, there's that game where if you say whatever you're doing and somebody yells Shatner, you have to do whatever it is you're doing in the vein of how Shatner would do it. So if you're telling a story, now you have to tell the story how Shatner would. Or if you're, fixing something, you have to do it like how Shatner would, or, whatever you're doing anyway. So that's a thing.
So
he always has those commercials on it.
Telling a story.
Thing.
Nice.
Anyway. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. Everybody at home, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon and give us some comments in the comment section below. Tell your friends. Oh, also, this is something we didn't mention. Patreon.com/the7th rule. Check us out there, and we'll see you next time on the 7th rule. Keep your ears open. And your hands, so it looks like the...